Can you tell me a story?
Sure. Once upon a time, a mom needed a new car.
Was she brave?
She was tired, mostly. But she went to Carvana.com and found a great car at a great price. No secret treasure map required.
Did she have to fight a dragon?
Nope, she bought it 100% online. From her bed, actually.
Was it scary?
Honey, it was as unscary as car buying could be.
Did the car have a sunroof?
It did, actually.
Okay, good story.
Car buying you'll want to tell stories about. Buy your car today on
Carvana.
Delivery fees may apply.
You're locked on to Scotty G and the coach, Tim LaComb.
Now I know y'all are tripping.
Presented by Mountain Land Supply on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
97.5, the KSL Sports Zone, just past 11 o'clock. It's that time of day, by the way. Not what you think, by the way. That's an energy drink, by the way. Just wanted to.
I mean, some call it that.
I wonder what. Look, we're all about getting that sponsorship dollars. My friends at Rockstar, hey, hop on board. I am ready and willing to endorse these drinks because I go through a couple of them every day. Like I was interviewing the athletic director at Utah State, Cameron Walker, and we were doing a video thing, and before we started, and I was knocking one back. He's like, hey, what number is that today? I was like, let's not get caught up in the semantics. It's not important. All right, joining us now, one of our favorite dudes on the planet. Oh, we do not have him yet. We will get Jay Stevens coming up here in just a second, recap his thoughts on the NHL season and everything about the Mammoth. One thing that I guess you got to be happy about if you're a Mammoth fan is that you are not paying very close attention to the draft lottery tonight because you don't have to worry about that. That's been a big part of what's gone on the last 2 years. Well, guess what? Not anymore. No worries there because you're far and away above that. Now on Sunday for SEG, that's going to be an entirely different thing. But for the NHL lottery, no dice.
No, and it's been an interesting 2 years. A ton's happened. But I listened to Ben and Jake driving home last night, and I felt like they hit it on the head. The honeymoon phase is probably over. And you said this as well on our show yesterday. It's now it's fine-tuning to try to figure out how to advance because they've now gotten to the playoffs. In order to win the cup, you have to advance, and you have to get really accustomed to it. I talked about the grit with the Timberwolves, much like that. You got to get after it.
So Jay Stevens will give his thoughts on that coming up here in just a moment. We'll talk to Kurt Heelan in the noon hour, and then Big T, Thurl Bailey at 1:05. Thoughts on the Jazz, the NBA playoffs overall, what's really jumped out at him. And I think, honestly, the one thing that really is fascinating is the Celtics getting bounced has really turned this thing upside down.
Totally has. And to your point, it makes New York the odds-on favorite, and especially the way they're playing so well, sharing the basketball, really scoring it, but they're defending too.
Do you like where the NBA is at in terms of the parity that's going on right now? I mean, look, Oklahoma City is still, the best team, and they'll probably win back-to-back. But the fact is that, we're in a day and age where you're not seeing those 3, 4, 5 year in a row winners. You're not seeing you're not seeing Cleveland and Golden State play for an NBA Finals, 4 out of 5 years. You're not seeing that anymore. And to me, that makes things a little bit more interesting. Other people might disagree. They think the dynasties are great for the NBA. I'd rather see a team come out of nowhere like Milwaukee or like Denver, win an NBA title, and then not hear from them again for a bit. I think that's great.
And I think the way it's structured now with the CBA and everything else, I think that's what you're going to see more of. I think it's guys are being locked up for less time, and so talent's able to travel more frequently and to different places. And it's still an advantage to be in a place like Miami to get free agents, but you've seen them go other places. So I do believe in a lot of ways it's opened things up.
All right, let's welcome him in. Jay Stevens, one of our favorites, host of the Utah Puck Report on KSLSports.com. Kind enough to join us. Jay, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you guys?
Doing well. If you, I guess we're at those different levels of grief. Are you now in the acceptance stage? Like, where are you right now?
I think I'm at the acceptance stage. I'm getting excited about next year and looking at all the possibilities that the Utah Mammoth have of adding, subtracting from the roster, and just it took a minute though. It took a minute for me to get here.
Jay, what do you feel like addressing, going forward, and a lot of optimism in the locker room clean out and after the season interviews, many guys talked about, this being hopefully a launching pad for greater things. What needs to happen? What are some things that the Mammoth can address and need to, and you think perhaps will address this offseason to make that more of a reality?
Yeah, there's a few things. One of the things they need to address is just, in my opinion, is how they addressed goaltending all year. I think Veggie played too many games. I actually asked Veggie about it too, and he's like, I don't think about how many games I'm going to play. I get ready for every game. But I think they needed to manage him a little bit better and give him some more rest. I don't think the Vanacek was the problem either. I think they just let him play games that they thought they would lose. And he didn't play as many games as he wanted to, and Veggie played a ton. So that'd be the first place I start, is rest your goalie a little bit more before you go into playoffs. If you're not chasing that final playoff spot, you should be really load managing your goaltender. And then second to that, defense just needs to get a little bit more of an understanding. They've got one of the best D cores that you really could ask for in the NHL. But I saw a couple problems with, which really surprised me, is with Sergachev being more of an offensive defenseman and not really protecting the middle of the ice in his own zone, just being more of a transition defenseman. It cost Utah some goals. He scored points, but he'd end up even because he was giving them up on his own end. So I think that's another big part they need to address. And then the main part, and this isn't going to surprise anybody that I'm going to say this, is the power play.
Yes.
The power play was absolute garbage. It was -1. That's unacceptable. They scored one power play in the playoffs. It was horrible all year. I watched them try to do things to address it, but they never really addressed it. It got hot for a little while when they got that bump from putting Kerfoot in. But other than that, it just wasn't effective. And you can't plan on going deep without really good special teams.
So when you look at all of that you mentioned, how much, I guess, how many alterations do you think happen, not only to the roster, but maybe some adjustments to the coaching staff? You anticipate any of that? Not necessarily by name, but just do you anticipate that there'll be a little bit of a shakeup?
I really don't anticipate there'd be much of a shakeup. There's going to be 3 or 4 players that were in the lineup last year that will be gone. And you can look at who's unrestricted next year and see what the value is in bringing them back. Really, I think there's value in bringing Ian Cole back, but I'd let Stenlund move on. We've got these young kids coming up that are just going to be so exciting to watch. So it'd be interesting to see how they do and give them a whole season to develop. And that's why you need to keep Bear. All these people, I get it. Fan base gets mad. They start screaming for the head coach's job. But that head coach is one of the best player development coaches in the NHL, and everybody knows it. And so I don't see you changing him when you got guys that are going to need development like Iginla and Boot and Baudouin. And I mean, they just got all these young kids coming up that they really need to develop. I would like to see, and the power play has to change. So does that mean you have to change the power play coach, or do you tell that power play coach, we're giving you another chance, but it can't just be this ineffective bumper power play that only works in practice and didn't, if you're among the worst in the NHL all year, then that's where you need to change. It's pretty obvious. And, you've got a coach that won the Stanley Cup running the power play in Forsyth. So it's not like he doesn't know what he's doing and he hasn't had success, but he didn't have success this year. And it's more of a, what have you done for me lately mentality, right? They're maybe not as cold-hearted as Vegas, but at some point you got to say it either the power play changes or we change you.
So when there was that moment of time near the end of the season where they caught fire on the power play, and it's like, oh, okay, they fixed it. They got it going. Was that maybe just a nice matchups? Was it just, why did we get that little mirage of hope when it comes to the power play, and then all of a sudden it went away again?
The main thing I saw that when it was working was we were getting more shots from defensemen, and you had a guy like Kerfoot and you had a guy like McBain spending a lot of time up front, maybe not in the bumper position, but in the net front position. Those are two very similar positions, but bumper, you're facing the goal line looking for a pass from the goal line. And net front, you're looking at the defenseman and just trying to get your breezers in the goalie's face. And I think that's when Utah saw the most success on the power play is when, Kerfoot did get a few bumper scores. He did get a few goals off the bumper, which I think is like winning the, when you hit on a slot machine and you're like, oh, I'm just going to keep doing the same thing then. I'll just keep putting money into it. And it doesn't work. But for me, that's what it was. You had just some more audibles going on and guys digging in and figuring it out rather than just looking for that bumper play. And Keller is the guy that can get you that puck. But typically you need to be below the net to get the bumper play. And Keller's up more on the mid boards looking for the cross crease pass to the other forward on the mid board. So just a couple tweaks like that. We saw it work for 5 games, 8 games. I think it was 8 games they had a goal. And everybody thought it was fixed, and then the wheels fell right off. So those little things work, and then the other teams make an adjustment, then you have to make an adjustment too. So it's there. The talent's definitely there to have a really good power play and to score a ton of goals, and it just needs some tweaking.
As part of the acceptance phase, are you watching the games in the playoffs every night now, or did you have to give it a break?
No, honestly,
who am I kidding? You're a hockey head.
I thought I would give it a break. Just like I was out of town with my wife and kids, and then I'm home and it's my anniversary, and I'm like, all right, what do you want to watch tonight? We can watch whatever. And my wife's like, you're gonna watch playoffs. I already know it. So yeah, I'm watching every playoff game, and it's not as much fun without Utah in it, but it's still the NHL playoffs, and it's still the most fun you can have watching TV, I think.
One thing that's nice that you don't have to watch or pay much attention to because of the Mammoth is the draft lottery, because the Mammoth don't have to worry about that going forward for the foreseeable future. So, but in terms of the draft, just how loaded is this class upcoming?
Well, first off, thank the Lord that I don't have to worry about the draft, because my math skills after last year, and they made it more complicated this year. That meme where you got all the numbers floating around your head?
Yeah.
That was me last season trying to figure out. I'm like, I think we just won the draft. I don't know. It's just so confusing. Just put a bunch of balls in and draw it out. Let's not make it so complicated. The draft is somewhat deep this year. It's not as deep as it has been in the past. There's some really good players. I don't think you're going to see like a Nolan Schaefer or anybody walk right, or like we saw in the last couple drafts. You're not going to see somebody walk right out of the draft into the NHL this year. Maybe the first 2-3 picks, but past that, I'm not that worried about Utah missing out on anything or needing to trade up for anything. But there's some, every year there's going to be some talent. I don't think there's generational talent this year, but the draft's a crazy thing when you're picking 18-year-olds that still have a lot of development to do. You can miss out, or like we've said before, we think if we redrafted right now that Logan Cooley would go number 1 overall. So you just never know what you're going to get in the draft. But there's some good 18-year-olds. I actually have a guy that I used to play with in Idaho. His kid's supposed to be in the draft this year, so I'm probably going to end up watching it. But it's not as deep. I think Utah's going to do fine picking in the middle of the pack.
Jay, what prospects should we be the most excited about? I was looking through the list the last couple of days, and certainly some intriguing, guys. Certainly the Lamoureux and his size is imposing. We talked about Rabel yesterday, the fact that he's 6'6" and actually really agile. But of all the prospects, who are you the most excited about for the future of the Mammoth?
Well, for me, there's going to be a couple surprise picks that I really think have an opportunity to have an impact on the team. Obviously, when you were looking at Iginla and you're looking at Cole Baudouin, really has a shot at making the team this upcoming season. He's a phenomenal player. He's a big body. It's kind of what Utah needed another one of, is a big power forward. So Baudouin is one for me, and that was the Utah Hockey Club's second first-round pick that first year after Iginla. A kid named Owen Allard had a decent year in the AHL. He has a good body. There's something to his game that I just love. He's got a real high hockey IQ. But one guy, and I've mentioned him a few times. I haven't heard anybody else really bring him up. But playing with Desnoyers is a guy named Gabe Smith, who just has that chip on his shoulder nastiness that is exactly what Utah needed for the playoffs. And if you could get a guy like Gabe Smith, get him some games in the A so he adjusts to playing with grown men, get him in the NHL, get him, 20, 30 games this year, I think he's going to surprise a lot of players because he's a late draft. I think he was like a 4th round pick. I should know, but I think he's a 4th round pick. And he was drafted by the Utah Hockey Club, so he's had a couple of years to get a little bit older. And he is mean. And Utah saw it last year. He had a couple fights in the preseason. And he's just had he developed into not just being a mean guy on the ice, but he developed into a high skill guy playing with Desnoyers up in major juniors. So that's a guy that I think can really surprise a lot of people. Desnoyers is not going to surprise anybody. He's going to come in and be phenomenal. Aginla, not a surprise. He's going to come in and be phenomenal. If those guys make the roster next year, I still see him spending a lot of time in the minors. They don't want to rush any of these guys. Bill Armstrong's very smart, very patient. He's shown Utah that he is patient. He's not going to jump the gun on anything. So Utah could have, I think Tucson's going to be unbeatable next year with all these lottery picks in there. And with Robble and net, he's going to grow and be phenomenal. But I still think he's a 2-3 year project before he's a starter in the NHL.
All right. So this is Coach and I, this is our selfish question for you. Is there how much of a priority is Yamamoto for this front office going into the offseason?
He has to be a priority.
Yes.
They paid him $775,000 this year. Do you think you got less than $1 million value out of that guy? He was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Like give him 1.5 because he earned it this year, and that does not hurt your cap. You've got plenty of room to spend. He's shown all year. He's shown for the last 2 years. He will do what you ask him to do. He'll play anywhere in the lineup. He's phenomenal offensively. He really completed a lot of the lines he got put on, and even when he was just going into the corners, which you don't expect one of your smallest guys on the team to be the guy to go into the corners and come out with a puck, but that's what he was asked to do, so he did it. He played like I love what Moore said about Dom Moore said he's 5'9", but he plays 9'5". He's just aggressive, and he's worth every penny they paid him this year. I think they got a huge value on him, and he earned it. I think he earned another 2 years.
Yes,
I'd love to see him get get 1.5 times 2.
I love it. All right, so I want to get your thoughts on this situation in Toronto, because I don't know if you heard that press conference. That was as brutal of a press conference as you've ever heard. And this guy has, in fact, if you missed the show yesterday, Toronto hires their new GM. He was the former GM of Arizona, now the Utah Mammoth. He has not been a general manager since 2020. He's been under a lot of scrutiny for some other activities. And imagine sitting at the podium and you've just been hired, and the guy that hired you is being asked this question about you.
Steve Simmons, Toronto Sun, for Keith. You talk about the due diligence that you did on John prior to hiring him and now hiring him. In the past, say 3 to 4 days, I have been in contact with about 20 people who work in the National Hockey League, many of whom are prominent names that we would all know. And of the 20 people I spoke to, one was supportive of John's hiring, and the other 19 thought it was a sham, to be perfectly honest. Words were used like con artist, liar, salesman. How did you come to a different conclusion that I was able to come to in a very short time?
I must have talked to different people.
That's it? Because I'm telling you, the hockey world today is astounded by this announcement.
Okay.
And your response to that?
Is we've conducted due diligence, and it was deep due diligence. It was a thorough process, and I'm quite happy with where we've landed.
So John Shaika is the general manager, and I don't know how much of this roster for Utah is that he's been responsible for? I can't imagine much. But what's the MO on this guy? Why is he just absolutely getting thrown under the bus by Toronto and the rest of the NHL media?
There were some kind of scams he was caught up in and accused of. I don't know that anything was ever proven when he was in Arizona. They actually asked him later in the presser about that, and he avoided the question completely and just said that Arizona was a trying time and that he met a lot of great people, but he ignored the accusations. It really, I follow Spitting Chicklets too, or Spitting Chicklets, and they're not happy about this hire either. In fact, Biz tore his Maple Leafs jersey off and said he's done with the Leafs because of this. So, typically the GMs are more in the background. You don't hear a lot about them. You don't know what they're doing. And with everything else that was going on in Arizona, I wouldn't be surprised if there was a lot of just scrambling to make things work. I mean, we heard about it with Bill Armstrong, right? Bill was talking about some difficulties. He never really comes out and says what those were, but there are times where that team was on the road and they'd have to order pizza because the team wouldn't, take him to dinner or whatever. There's just some really weird things happening in Arizona, and I'm hoping that all of that was just about that, and that this guy really is okay. Like, nothing really was ever proven, but for Toronto's the craziest market. Toronto and Montreal are just insane. And for a reporter to ask that question, how upset they are. And you can hear it in that reporter's voice. He's mad about the hire because these guys are so passionate about the Leafs and they need the Leafs to be good. They haven't won a cup, since World War II. They just, I don't know. These teams they have a very passionate fan base, and to be a reporter asking that kind of question with that much passion is maybe a little definitely inappropriate, right?
Yeah.
But I just don't see, I haven't heard any absolute evidence that he, had illegal recruiting, and there was some other stuff that he was, accused of, but I don't even really know what they all are. But man, yeah, Toronto,
what a mess.
Yeah, it is a mess. And I know I'm rambling a bit, but it's just, I'm trying to find the words, but he can't be as bad as that reporter thinks he's going to be. And I don't think there was anybody you could have named unless you brought in Wayne Gretzky or, Mark Messier, guys that basically get a free pass no matter what. Whoever Toronto hired, you weren't going to make everybody happy, and you were going to take heat from the media and heat from the fan base anyway. So hopefully John can go in there. And I've met him a couple of times when I was at equipment rep. He seemed fine. Not that we can sense that out as equipment reps, but it makes me uncomfortable. Even sitting in our press conferences with the Mammoths, sometimes I hear questions that make me uncomfortable, but that was unreal. I would be surprised if Toronto yanked his credentials.
The very definition of a pointed question.
Yeah, I'd say so.
He's pointing. I'm asking you about him. And that was the craziest part. The guy was in the room. Last question from me, Jay. Icing or not icing last night? And did the Ducks take a tough L last night? I'm trying to figure out the right way to say that.
It looked to me. It did look like Eichel got to, because the icing now is that hash mark, and it looked like the Eichel was at that hash mark, and the tie is supposed to go to the to the team that's being iced on. So the tie is supposed to go to the defensive team. So I thought Eichel was a little bit ahead of him. Either way, you're taught from the time you play, like the first time there's a ref on the ice, you're told to play to the whistle and then stop. There was no whistle. Anaheim should have been more ready and not just turn the puck over. You see that all the time. But play to the whistle. I thought it was really close. And it could have been icing, but it was close enough that you should have expected it not to be called and played it both ways. Defensemen should know better. You're in the NHL. You're going to play to the whistle, even if you're down 7-1, and they're going to keep trying to score, right? So the whistles are going to be the only thing that should stop you in your play.
We'll check in throughout the playoffs, but if there is a Stanley Cup final between Colorado and Carolina, can Carolina hang with the Avalanche?
Yeah, I think so. I think they're showing that they can score a lot of goals also. I don't know that you're going to see another 15-goal game.
Yeah.
But unbelievable playoff hockey right now. You can't, and for all the Utah fans that were mad that Utah couldn't protect the lead, well, you just saw the Colorado Avalanche not protect the lead. You just saw Philly not protect the lead. You just saw Carolina not protect the lead. Playoffs are crazy. Everybody's doing crazy things. But yeah, I think the only team that really can match up with Colorado is Carolina. And I've been saying that for like 3 months now. What I am surprised of is Carolina not playing that young, hot rookie goaltender that they had that, won so many games in a row and put them in such a great playoff position. And then they go back to their old starter. That kind of surprised me. But Carolina's got depth in net. They've got depth up front. They can score 4 or 5 a game. The Avalanche have scored 10 in a game. So those are the two teams I think are going to make it. I think that makes for a really good Stanley Cup final.
Jay, you're the best, man. Appreciate it. And look forward to catching up with you again down the line.
Absolutely.
There he is, the man himself, Jay Stevens, host of the Utah Puck Report, putting a nice, tidy bow. I think we're all in a little bit of mourning, but we're now at the acceptance stage. We've gone past anger, bargaining, whatever other stages there are. But, yeah.
On that icing, by the way, can't blame it on the crowd because you'd have to have a full stadium to have that issue.
Ouch.
But
a lot of empty seats in that Vegas arena.
Yeah. I mean, that was like the hot ticket.
I know, right?
Did Utah getting an NHL team just deplete their fan base?
I think it did.
Especially after the
jersey
exchange.
swap, yeah.
I don't think Vegas Knight fans really exist anymore.
JT the Brick does.
Oh, JT.
Did you see his diatribe?
No.
He went on the Mammoth fans and basically, attaboyed us.
Oh, really?
I'll overlook his Vegas Knight stuff because he is a Raider.
Yeah, no, that's your guy right there.
That's my guy.
He is kin, Lloyd.
He is. Absolutely. Can't all be perfect.
97.5, the KSL Sports Zone, 11:30. Good, the bad, the ugly, coming up next.
If the world were like a Sleep Number mattress, everything would adapt for your comfort. Because as your life changes and your body changes, Sleep Number mattresses adapt and shift to give you personalized comfort night after night. And now everything's on sale during our Memorial Day event. Save up to $1,200 on mattresses for a limited time. To experience a whole new world of comfort, visit a Sleep Number store or go to sleepnumber.com. Sleep Number, to a good life sleep.
Make game day yours. Tickets, food and drinks, stats, and streaming. Everything you need is in the Utah Mammoth app. Download today and make game night easy. Download on both Android and iPhone. Tusk Top.
Hey, sweetie, your mother showed me this Carvana thing for selling the car. I'm going to give it a try. Wish me luck. Me again. I put in the license plate. It gave me an offer. Unbelievable. Okay, I accepted the offer. They're picking it up Tuesday from the driveway. I haven't even left my chair. It's done. The car's gone. I'm holding a check. Anyway, Carvana, give it a whirl. Love ya.
So good, you'll want to leave a voicemail about it. Sell your car today on
Carvana.
Pickup fees may apply.
It's time to saddle up and talk about the winners and the losers. This is the good, the bad, and the ugly. Now, here's the good.
Reed attacking. Blocked by Wembanyama, his eighth. He has tied Dwight Howard for the most blocks in a playoff half since 1996-97.
Yeah, he was a block machine last night. Now, look, Wemby would rather have a W. The San Antonio Spurs lost to Minnesota in Game 1 of their best-of-7 series. But how about 11 points, 15 rebounds, 12 block shots? That's right, 12 block shots, an NBA record for blocks in a playoff game. Had the record for most blocks in a half, pulled down 15 rebounds. But the 11 points, though, not huge from an offensive standpoint. Didn't shoot particularly well, including 0 for 3 from beyond the three-point line. And Julius Randle and Rudy Gobert both taking the brunt of that assignment and both handling him pretty well.
Yeah, the physicality really stood out to me, and that's the book right now on him. You have to get into his body, and they'll guard him with smaller guys too. But for him to go 5 for 17 and 0 for 8 from 3, man, job done. They did a great job. You almost have to make around the paint. You just got to make a big old, wall of protection, and he can't get in there. And they did a great job. You saw one play. He drove somebody and tried to spin back. There was a guy right there in the gap. I think it was Clark. Jalen Clark took the ball from him. But they did a great job team-wise keeping Wemby in check and using physicality to impact his ability on the offensive end.
On the defensive side, though, just a historic performance. And look, this guy is just scratching the surface of what he's going to become.
Oh, totally. He's
scary.
He's still in his infancy in the NBA.
Yeah.
It's so funny. I remember the very first summer league game he played, and he looked like a baby deer. He was just out there and getting knocked around, and it's crazy how much stronger he is, but he's still working at developing strength. And one of the things he goes through before every game, he has a assistant coach darn near assault him, trying to knock him off balance, because that's the game for him. If his feet can be on the floor and if he can be strong with his lower body, he can get anywhere he wants to on the floor.
How did you ever draw that assignment on like Eric Mika or something like that, where you had to do the bags and create the contact? Or because I can't imagine that would have been a lot of fun on your end.
Yeah, I wasn't much of. We had Pope was there for a good amount of it, and he did most of that. If I was good to hit a pad, one of those pads you can swing, those cylinder pads.
Like
that was my job.
Like the water weenie things?
I try to whack them over the head, on the arm as they score it, just.
Pool noodle, yeah. I think that's what they're called.
What'd you call it?
I can't remember.
Yeah, it's not important.
The water.
Jeez, yeah. I don't know what you were playing with.
Wow. All right. I think that was not cool on your part.
I used a pool noodle. I don't know.
All right, there's your good. Let's get to the bad.
Now the bad.
All right. John Rahm wants to get out, right? The LIV is dying. It's on his last breath. They're counting pennies to try to keep this thing going. And John Rahm would probably love nothing more than to jump ship and go to the back to the PGA Tour. But he said, I have multiple years left on my contract with LIV, and I don't see many ways out. Here he goes. Here's the exact quote. Right now, I have several years on my contract. I'm pretty sure they did a pretty good job when they drafted that, so I don't see many ways out. He's saying the Saudis have good lawyers, apparently?
Ironclad.
Right now.
They don't need lawyers.
Yeah. Right now, their thing is, if you leave, somebody comes to your house.
I'm just going to say bad things.
I'm here. I'm not leaving.
You want out, you can try.
Yeah. Right now, I'm not really thinking about it because I'm scared to death of these people. No, he said. Right now, I'm not really thinking about it because we still have a season to play and majors to compete for. It's not something I want to think about just yet because I do enjoy my legs and I would like to keep them.
And unlike Van Gogh, I want to have both ears.
Yes.
Just put a new security system on my house, by the way.
Yeah, this is a bad deal, and I don't feel bad for the LIV guys at all.
Dude,
not one bit.
He received $300 million.
Yeah, he's fine.
So if he has to go, he can't play on the tour. He can go just wear shorts and play with the rest of us.
Go buy your own course.
Just make sure you follow the right direction.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't mess it up like the Angels.
You don't want Kevin White coming after you. Poor
kid. If it's your course, you can do whatever you
want.
want.
What did Kevin end up doing? Did he back off?
No, he stuck to his guns, and the Angels apparently, I don't know. We may have to call Kevin, get the story specifically, but and frankly, I don't even know if I was supposed to share that on the air. But, what are you going to do? But I think that he told the Angels what's up, and they said, "Oh, our bad," and then they reversed course. And
cool. That's what I would expect.
Yeah,
it's like, we were just caught up chatting about 14 draft prospects.
Yeah.
That we're playing today.
That wouldn't have happened with Crew. Crew would have kept him on the straight and narrow. But Austin and Danny just...
Oh, and Crew would have fought.
Yeah, no, Crew would have turned around and said, "Oh, you got a problem? Then let's go."
Crew came out when Jake Toolson was on his recruiting visit. And they're cousins. So you get all those guys together and it's mayhem. But it was around the 4th of July. And they were all around BYU campus hanging around. And so they stopped by and... next thing I know, bottle rockets are flying over my house, and Crew's laying prone out in the middle of the street like he's, shooting.
So Crew shot bottle rockets over your house?
Yeah, he was shooting them here, there, and everywhere.
Oh, boy.
I walked into that one, didn't I?
Yeah, that's all right. I mean, I'm already in trouble for a phrase where I talked about a pool accessory. that apparently is not the right term.
Yep, pool noodle.
All right, so yeah, I think that these live guys, I don't have any kind of feel bad for them at all. Look, you gave up your legacy or any kind of history that you had when you took the money, and that's fine. Take the money. Look, if somebody offered me and I was in your situation, all that money, I'd have a hard time saying no. I'm not even hating on you, but you did know that you were going to sacrifice something when you took that money, and now you want your cake and eat it too. And sorry, you got your money, but yeah, I wouldn't really welcome a lot of these guys back with open arms if I'm the PGA, even if they could get out of their contracts. It's like, yeah, you kind of. I think you need to sit out a while before we welcome you back.
It looks like they will, unless that whole thing dissolves and then contracts become.
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm sure they're hoping for is that whole thing shuts down.
But right now, not only is there a reason, money wise to stay, but there's also the threat of breaking the contract.
And you don't break contracts with those guys.
As an aside,
just wants to see somebody break the contract just to see what happens.
Just as an aside, because I've always called them, pool noodles as well, but I've heard other terms. So I wanted to find another one, and I figured
I think we got it now.
This is actually it's a water wiggler.
Oh, really?
Is what
that's what it's called?
Yeah.
Well, I think the other thing that you talked about is that thing that's pulled on the end of a boat that has a lot of people that ride on it.
Is what I said?
That's called
a water weenie.
Yeah, a water weenie.
All right.
I believe.
Okay. I'd known I'd heard that term before, but apparently that was not.
But the other thing in the pool, no, that's definitely
a pool noodle.
Let's get to the ugly because I don't want to get fired after 12 days. we're messing around with a word.
See, that's the thing. But you know what the good thing is? When you're a host, it's the producer that gets fired. And then if the producer's the PD, then it's then Alex has to fall on the sword. So it just that's how it works. So you'll be okay for the first little bit.
He's already on thin ice with all the Santana. So.
And no, I was just going to say, I love Alex, but I would miss the Santana as much as I miss him.
All right. Maybe we should just bail on the segment. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. There you go. Good, the bad.
Hey there, it's Wayfair here, where delivery and setup are as easy as a few taps on your phone. You're relaxing in an old hammock, scrolling Wayfair's app, when you spot it, a brand new patio set. Next thing you know, Wayfair delivers it right to your patio and sets it up. Oh, you need a new grill too? All right, Wayfair's got you covered. With Wayfair's Room of Choice delivery and fast expert setup on qualifying orders, life gets a little easier. Visit wayfair.com or the Wayfair app.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
I sold my car in Carvana last night.
Well, that's cool.
No, you don't understand. It went perfectly. Real offer, down to the penny. They're picking it up tomorrow. Nothing went wrong.
So, what's the problem?
That is the problem. Nothing in my life goes as smoothly. I'm waiting for the catch.
Maybe there's no catch.
That's exactly what a catch would want me to think.
Wow, you need to relax.
I need to knock on wood. Do we have wood? Is this table wood?
I think it's laminate.
Okay, yeah, that's good. That's close enough.
Car selling without a catch. Sell your car today on
Carvana.
Pickup fees may apply.
Add the ugly right here on the zone.
Cougars and Aggies. When it comes to sports in Utah, we've got you covered. This is Scotty G and the coach, Tim LaComb, presented by Mountain Land Supply on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Kurt Heelan's going to join us coming up in about 15 minutes from right now, NBC Sports and ProBasketballTalk.com. Remember, on Thursday, you and I are going to be out and about at Minky Couture. 48 hours from now, we will be in Layton at the Minky Couture location up there. And right now, you got Mother's Day coming up. Don't screw it up, folks. Don't be that guy. Don't be a moron. Give her comfort she'll feel every single day. Now enjoy the Mother's Day special, 50% off any regularly priced blanket with the code ZONE50. So just go to any Minky Couture location. Say, I heard it on the Zone. I heard Scott and Coach talking about it. I need my 50% off. I need to save my marriage. And they will hook you up with a blanket from Minky Couture. You turn around and then give that to your wife, your mother, whatever, the mothers in your life, whether you've got daughters, whatever the case is, and hand that over, and you will be a hero for Mother's Day. It's that simple. Minky Couture, let's go.
I filled in up there one time.
Oh, did you?
During Mother's Day, in fact, yeah.
Nice.
I can't remember who it was with you or Hans, but one of you were gone, so I remember sitting up there and doing the show.
Yeah. Sandy's awesome.
She's incredible. What a business.
Her story is unreal. daughter's in the hospital, so she wants to make a blanket for her. She does, and then all the nurses are like, wow, that's a great blanket. So she makes more, and then all of a sudden, a few years later, boom, she's got herself a blanket empire on her hands.
And I couldn't be more happy for people like that.
I know.
It's awesome.
It really is. All right, so again, we'll be up there on Thursday. Make sure to stop by and say hi. By the way, Sean Miller, head coach now at where's Sean at now?
Sean is currently now he just got a new gig.
Oh, he's at Texas. That's right.
Texas.
I know it was Xavier and then back to Xavier. Like, he's been around a bit, but now he's at Texas. He said, I think he told Jeff Goodman this, that next year he anticipates there will be 20 teams in Division I college basketball that have a $20 million or more roster. 20 teams that'll be $20 million or more on their roster spend. I mean, I don't know when, like, eventually we all think that this is going to be like the housing bubble of 2008. Like, eventually this thing's going to burst. I just don't see it happening. It just keeps climbing and climbing.
If nobody's going to stop it, why would anybody stop it? Right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's right now it's for the power teams, and that's changed. It's not necessarily the same group. You see a lot of Power Fives that are scrambling, trying to figure out, now that it's all out in the open, how do we get our guys? So it's it doesn't surprise me. We talked early on about NIL being 50,000, 100,000 in a big case, but this is open Pandora's box. And as always with money, it's hard to put that stuff back. Once a number hits a certain point, hey, you paid him that much? Well, I'm worth more than him, right? So every year it seems like that thing will climb, and until it gets some sort of reins or guardrails put on it, it will continue to probably be hurtful too.
Yeah. I mean, Kyle Whittingham said he thinks football rosters for some of these teams, I'm sure his Michigan team included, will be pushing $50 million. And yeah, I don't see why not. And the amount that this money is escalating is just getting out of hand. I remember sitting down with Blake Anderson. He was the football coach at Utah State at the time, and SMU had just mentioned that they were going to pay their athletes, like every student athlete was going to get like $32,000.
Oh yeah, I remember this.
And he's like, I can't compete with that. And we added up the total, and it was like going to be like $1.5 million. And he's like, we can't come up with that kind of money. Well, now Utah State's got 2 players on their basketball team that's making that or more. And so, if I'm a player out there, I'm like, okay, well, you can come up with the money because you have come up with the money. So we're going to continue to ask for more. And as long as you keep paying us more, we're going to keep asking for more. And it's just going to keep going up and up and up.
And the rev share component's been a big piece of that, right?
Yeah.
Because that added to it. But yeah, man, it's crazy how fast it's accelerating. And it's competitive. And so everybody's trying to get what they can, take what they can. We heard Alex Jensen talk about it the other day. There's not a lot of rules. There is a lot of gray area, and in some cases you just have to go do it and ask forgiveness later. But there really doesn't seem to be any sort of enforcement. So the end, I don't know where it ends, Scotty. I don't know but ultimately it's got to take on some sort of model that can be sustainable outside of just money being thrown at the university.
Yeah, and that's going to be the multi-million-dollar question is, once you get to a certain point, how can you put caps on it? It's like, look, baseball is going to undergo a massive work stoppage. Like this thing, like there are people out there that really want to rework the whole model of Major League Baseball. These owners are tired of the Dodgers spending more than everybody else. They're making everybody spend more because they've got to keep up with them. And so they're like, hey, we need something to protect us from ourselves. And so you might see, close to an entire season being lost next year in Major League Baseball. It wouldn't surprise me one bit. So one of the most under-talked about stories in sports right now is that you will see massive work stoppage in baseball. And if I'm like the Millers and I'm anticipating getting a baseball team, I'm all for this. Because if there's something in place, it's going to help you be competitive from a financial standpoint if it's a model more like the NFL. And so owners are dying for this. They want it. And the players desperately do not want it. And so, yeah, you're going to see some ugliness going on. And I don't know if we'll ever see that in college athletics, but it might have to come to that for any of this to ever slow down.
Yeah, and it's crazy you mentioned baseball because in reality, every year you've got your outliers, but for the most part, there's probably 6 or 7 teams that actually have a shot at winning. Everybody else is just trying to figure out how to make money.
Yep.
And keep paying everybody. It is straight an entertainment business. And, for some like the Red Sox, they decided not to spend a bunch of money this year. And, they're absolutely getting shelled. They're 14-21. So the bottom line is it's the same with college. If you want to be successful, you have to spend the money. And where that money ends up, and where contracts end up, where salary cap comes into the equation, that's all what we're going to live through.
You don't miss it one bit, do you?
I'm so glad I'm sitting here with you and Lloyd today. But I did see the winds a blowing.
Yeah.
They say be mindful, head on a swivel. Definitely the winds were blowing. So I was like, I don't think this is for me.
Yeah. It was a freight train coming pretty quick. I think everybody's surprised by how quickly it came together, but not necessarily surprised by the fact that we got here. And this could have been avoided had the NCAA just kept up with the times a bit.
Yeah, just been proactive and not trying to govern things in the year 2000 like it was 1948.
Yeah, because, eventually it was going to go, somebody was going to sue, and somebody was going to absolutely wreck everything. And it took a while, but once it did, then the floodgates just opened up.
Yeah, and now, there's no way to corral it. It's completely, it was so interesting listening to a head college basketball coach basically saying, I am not really sure if that, it's crazy now compared to what, it was so buttoned up and you knew exactly what you could and couldn't do. But now it's the Wild West.
So I'm sure that when you're out on the recruiting trail, especially if you're in on a high-level kid, that there would be some mention of well, guess what? This team in the SEC is offering this and this. What can you guys do? And you're like, nothing. That's not how we operate. We're not going to get caught up in that stuff. And I think most schools were that way, but there were schools that were fast and loose, and you can identify who they probably were pretty easily. But the fact that they opened it up, because I hear a lot of people players were always getting paid. Some were, not a lot, but some were. But now that everybody can pay, now you got a team like BYU said, okay, these are the rules. All right, we'll play by the rules. We can pay guys. All right, we're going to jump in on this. And we got tons of boosters ready to pay good money. So now BYU enters the fray. A lot of other schools enter the fray, and that just drives up the price. So you got teams like, I don't know, hypothetically Duke or whatever school out there that's a little fast and loose with the payments. They could get a kid for $80,000, $90,000 because he didn't have a lot of options. Now he has tons of options. You got to find a way to pay him $5, $6, $7 million. And
you're competing straight in real time, or so you think, right?
Yes.
That's the other piece of this. You're not dealing with real reputable agents, so they've got a stake in the game, so they're going to try to drive the price up. I mean, the whole thing, the system is absolutely insane. It's basically day-by-day inflation with it because as you say, there's so many ways to bounce this around. And if a guy's really looking for the biggest deal, and has an agent that it's going to push, money can be just absolutely insane.
Yeah. Yep. All right, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Coming up next, we'll talk a little NBA hoops, get the thoughts on the early round of the playoffs with Kurt Heelan, NBC Sports, ProBasketballTalk.com. He'll join us next right here on The Zone.
Mom, can you tell me a story?
Sure. Once upon a time, a mom needed a new car.
Was she brave?
She was tired, mostly. But she went to Carvana.com and found a great car at a great price. No secret treasure map required.
Did you have to fight a dragon?
Nope. She bought it 100% online. From her bed, actually.
Was it scary?
Honey, it was as unscary as car buying could be.
Did the car have a sunroof?
It did, actually.
Okay, good story.
Car buying you'll want to tell stories about. Buy your car today on
Carvana.
Delivery fees may apply.